As the alien ship hovers above Earth, a new terror unfolds. The coordinates lead to an ominous discovery. A massive object, resembling a grave marker, is on a direct course for the capital. Humanity's fight for survival takes a dark turn as they realize the aliens' true intentions. "Commander, you need to see this." The voice of Lieutenant Hughes broke through the stillness of the command center, sharp with panic. General Vega turned sharply, her eyes locking onto the monitor as the image came into focus. A massive object appeared on the screen, its shape grotesque and alien, unlike anything that had ever been seen. It was immense, its surface blackened and jagged, as though it had been carved from the remains of a long-forgotten world. "And it was moving. That's a grave marker," Vega whispered under her breath. The words left her lips before she could stop them, as the true weight of the sight settled in. The object was heading straight for Earth's capital directly, into the heart of humanity's last stronghold. "No," Hughes muttered, his fingers racing across the console. "It can't be. That's impossible. It's not just a marker. It's a weapon. It's huge, Commander. Too huge." Vega stepped forward, her pulse quickening as the scope of the situation unfolded before her. "It's not just a weapon," she said, voice colder now. "It's their final message." She couldn't look away. The object was massive, larger than any ship humanity had ever built. The alien ship had left Earth's defenses in ruins, but this was something different. They had no way of knowing what the object truly was, but its trajectory left no doubt. It was headed for the capital, and if it wasn't stopped, it would obliterate everything in its path. "How long until impact?" Vega asked, her voice barely a whisper. "We have approximately 4 hours, Commander," Hughes replied, voice strained. "But the trajectory is locked." "It's not changing course." Vega's heart sank. She had seen the devastation the alien ship had already caused. They had no fleet left, no defenses to speak of. What were they supposed to do? How could they stop something like this? And why now? Why send something so ... "Final? Activate emergency protocols," Vega ordered, her voice sharp. "Get me the president. I need an emergency council now." As the communications officer scrambled to send out the emergency signal, Vega turned to the rest of the crew. Their eyes were wide, filled with the same fear she felt creeping in, but there was no time to panic. "Not yet. We're going to stop this," she said, rallying the room. "We have no choice. We can't let them make Earth their graveyard." But even as the words left her mouth, she felt the crushing weight of their situation. The alien weapon was unlike anything humanity had encountered. Every strategy, every military tactic they had tried had failed. The alien ship, the weapon it, was beyond anything they had ever conceived. But now, this object, whatever it was, seemed to promise something worse. A final blow that would end Earth's fight for survival. The silence in the room was broken only by the hum of the backup systems. The alien ship still hung above the Earth, as if watching them, waiting for the inevitable. The object was now close enough that its silhouette was unmistakable. It was something more than a weapon. It was a symbol, a message. And they were about to receive it, whether they were ready or not. "General, we've lost contact with the military outposts," Captain Harris said, his voice low. "There's nothing left to stop it. The last of the defense systems are down." Vega clenched her fists. She couldn't let the despair take hold. "We will stop it. I don't know how yet, but we will." She turned to the tactical officer, who had been silently monitoring the alien ship's movements. "Tell me everything you know about the object's capabilities." The officer hesitated for a moment before speaking. "We don't have solid intel, Commander. But based on its size and the energy readings we've picked up, It's highly likely that it's capable of devastating the capital in a single strike. It's moving fast, and we're not picking up any defenses on it." Vega swallowed hard, the grim reality sinking in. "Then we'll have to fight smarter. We can't match their power, but we can outthink them." Hughes turned to her. "How do we fight something we don't understand? How do we stop a weapon that's already in the air?" Vega's gaze locked onto the object on the screen, a chill creeping through her veins. "We'll find a way. We're humans, we don't give up, no matter the odds." The countdown was ticking. The object, whatever it was on a direct path toward Earth's heart. But Vega refused to accept that this was the end. There had to be something they could do, something that would turn the tide. The alien ship above remained silent, its presence all-encompassing. Earth's last hope rested in the hands of a few desperate survivors, and even though the situation seemed hopeless, Vega knew that they would fight. They would find a way to survive. And then, as the object drew closer to its target, an unexpected flash of light appeared on the screen, a signal from the alien ship. The countdown had truly begun. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. The command center was filled with the sharp hum of the emergency lights, and every officer stood frozen, eyes glued to their screens. The last few days had been an exhausting blur of panic and uncertainty, but now, as they watched the massive alien object draw nearer to Earth's capital, the sense of impending doom was inescapable. The object's shape had become clearer with each passing minute sharp, angular, ominous. It was not like any weapon or ship humanity had ever encountered. The coordinates it had followed weren't a message nor a warning. It was a grave marker. General Vega stood in front of the primary monitor, watching as the glowing orb that hovered above Earth's atmosphere pulsed with an eerie, unearthly light. Her mind raced, trying to keep up with the thoughts that were crashing over her like waves. The alien ship above Earth wasn't just a weapon, it was a symbol. And whatever was heading toward the capital now, this object was no longer just a threat. It was the final judgment. "Commander, we've lost all communication with the surface," Captain Harris said, his voice as strained as ever. "The satellite networks are down, and the ground-based defense systems are completely offline. It's as if the alien ship is actively blocking anything we try to send." Vega's jaw tightened. "It's not blocking us, Captain. It's playing us. It's always been ahead of us. Whatever that object is, it's part of their game. It's a message. The whole world's looking to us for answers," Harris replied, his tone becoming more desperate. "And we have nothing left to give them." Vega turned to face him, her eyes dark with the weight of their failure. "We can't think like that. We still have one shot left. I'm not giving up on Earth, not on my watch." Her words were empty even to herself, as if the resolve she needed had already slipped through her fingers. The alien ship had crushed everything they'd thrown at it, and now this final object, this grave marker, was heading straight for the heart of the civilization. It felt inevitable, and yet Vega couldn't allow herself to let go. Not now, not when they were so close. "Commander, you need to see this," one of the tactical officers said, his voice trembling as the data began to flood his screen. It's accelerating. The object is picking up speed. It's definitely on a direct collision course with the capital." Vega's heart skipped a beat. "How much time do we have?" 2 hours at best," the officer replied. "If we can't stop it before then, the capital is gone. We'll lose everything." The words hung in the air, suffocating the room with an oppressive silence. Vega stepped forward, her fingers gliding over the console. Her thoughts were a jumble, but one thing was clear: time was running out. They had to act, and fast. "Want every remaining fighter jet ready for launch. Get the last of our defense systems online," she ordered, her voice steady despite the overwhelming fear rising in her chest. "We'll do everything we can to slow it down, but we need a backup plan. Prepare for anything." "We don't have anything left to prepare for, Commander," Captain Harris said, shaking his head. "We can't stop that thing. We can't even scratch the surface of the alien ship. And this new object, it's designed to obliterate us. We're not going to win this one." Viga's eyes narrowed as she stared at the screen, the ominous object drawing closer by the second. She could feel the weight of Harris's words in her bones, but she refused to let that doubt win. She would never let fear dictate her actions. Earth was still her responsibility, and she would fight to the bitter end. The room fell into a frantic rhythm as the officers scrambled to mobilize. Viga's mind was still a whirlwind of possibilities, trying to think of a way out of this impossible situation. She needed to plan something bold, something they hadn't thought of yet. She couldn't let Earth go down like this. Not without one final fight. "We've located a weak point in the alien ship's shield," Lieutenant Vega said, looking up from the tactical screen. "It's not much, but if we can hit it with everything we've got, it might cause a disruption. In their system, we've only got one shot." Vega turned toward the screen, her eyes narrowing as she took in the complex data. "How confident are you?" The officer hesitated for a moment before speaking. "It's not a perfect plan, Commander, but it's all we've got." Viga's mind raced as she calculated the odds. They had nothing left to lose. If this was their last chance to stop the alien forces, they would have to make it count. "Get it ready," she ordered. "We launch everything we have. Fighters, missiles, everything. We'll hit them with everything in one go." The crew around her moved quickly, preparing the final, desperate countermeasure. In the midst of the chaos, Viga's thoughts drifted to Earth, the people, the cities, the families still scattered across the planet. She wondered how many of them knew that the end was near. How many had already made peace with their fate, but she wouldn't give in. Not now. As the countdown began, Vega felt the weight of her decision settling into her chest. It was all or nothing. They had one final shot, and if this failed, there would be no coming back. No second chances. "Launch in 5, the tactical officer called out, his voice trembling. Viga's eyes stayed fixed on the screen, the seconds ticking away, and as the first fighter jets launched, streaking toward the alien ship's shield, Vega couldn't help but feel the weight of inevitability pressing down on her. Earth had fought and bled, and now they were at the precipice of something far beyond their control, but she would never surrender, and that was before Earth even responded. Countdown was ticking down, the last chance humanity had to defend itself from the alien force that loomed over them. The fleet, their last remaining defense, was already in position, but Vega knew that the odds were stacked against them. The alien ship had proven time and again that it was far superior to anything humanity had, and now, with a grave marker. On its way to the capital, the stakes had never been higher. Vega stood at the command center, watching the screen as the fighters launched. Her mind raced with a million questions. Would the attack work? Could they hit the weak point? Or was this all just a final act of desperation, an inevitable end that had already been decided? "Fighters are engaging the alien ship's shield," Lieutenant Hughes called out, his fingers moving rapidly over the controls. "We've locked onto their weak point, but the shields are regenerating faster than we can fire." The screen flickered with the incoming fire from the fighter jets, but it was clear that the alien ship's energy shield absorbed the attacks without so much as a flicker. The object, the grave marker, was getting closer. The force field around it shimmered with energy, its power unrelenting. "Status update on the weak point?" Vega asked, her voice firm despite the rising dread in her chest. "We're hitting it, but the damage is minimal," Hughes replied. "The energy shields are practically impenetrable. I don't know how much longer we can keep up the pressure. Keep pushing, Vega commanded, her voice unwavering. We need to create a window. Find a way to open it. Whatever it takes. The room fell silent as the crew worked, frantically trying to find any way through the alien defenses. The pressure was immense. Every second that ticked away felt like a death sentence for the capital. Vega could almost hear the screams of people who had no idea what was about to hit them. The alien ship's weapon was still charging, and Earth had no means of stopping it. "We're out of time, Commander," Captain Harris said, walking over to Vega with a grave look on his face. "If the shield doesn't drop soon, we're going to lose everything. The capital, the remaining fighters, everything." Vega turned to face him, meeting his gaze. She could see the fear in his eyes, but there was something else there too. Something that made her realize that, despite everything, they weren't giving up. "We can't lose hope now, Captain," she said, her voice resolute. "We keep fighting. We don't stop. Not until every last option has been exhausted." But even as she spoke, doubt began to creep into her mind. Were they really doing the right thing? Were their efforts just a form of defiance, a final attempt to show the aliens they wouldn't go down without a fight? Or was this all a futile, desperate struggle against something that humanity couldn't possibly defeat? Vega pushed the thoughts away, focusing instead on the tactical map. The alien ship was hovering just above Earth's atmosphere now, its energy pulse growing stronger. With every second, the grave marker, whatever it was still moving relentlessly toward the capital. It was only a matter of time before the beam struck, and the city would be reduced to ash. "Commander," Hughes said again, his voice barely a whisper, "we've hit it. The weak point, it's starting to crack." Vega's heart skipped a beat. "What? Are you sure?" "It's not much, but the shield is weakening." "We might have a window," Hughes confirmed, his fingers moving faster as he worked to keep the pressure on the weak spot. "But we need to act. Now we don't have long before it regenerates." Vega nodded, her mind working at a feverish pace. "Prepare the remaining missiles. Target the weak point and fire everything we've got." There was no time to waste, no time to think about the consequences. If they didn't hit it now, the alien ship would close the window, and Earth would be lost. The crew scrambled to prepare the final salvo. Vega could feel the tension building in the air. The clock was ticking, and with each second that passed, the chance of success seemed slimmer. But there was no other option. They had to try. They couldn't surrender to fate without at least one last attempt to save their world. "Missiles ready, Commander," the officer said, her voice tight with anticipation. "Fire," Vega ordered, her voice sharp. The first missile was launched, cutting through the air with a deafening roar. The others followed, a barrage of fire aimed at the weakening shield. For a split second, Vega thought she saw the alien ship shudder. The shield flickered, the barrier around it weakening as the missiles collided with their target. The moment was fleeting. The alien ship absorbed the blasts, the energy shield flickering but not breaking. The hull seemed to pulse, as if it were alive, adapting and regenerating faster than they could fire. The missiles had done nothing. Vega's heart sank. She could feel the weight of failure crushing her chest. They were so close to breaking through, but it wasn't enough. They weren't going to stop the alien ship. They weren't going to save the capital. The countdown was nearly finished. "Get me the president," Vega said, her voice hollow. She needed to know what to say to the survivors, to the people who would be left behind. The capital was a lost cause. Humanity's last line of defense had been broken, and their world would soon fall to the alien force. But as she prepared to speak, a flicker on the screen caught her eye. The alien weapon was starting to charge again. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't, Vega whispered, her mind racing. Earth might have been on the brink of destruction, but one thing was certain: humanity would go down fighting. And that was before Earth even responded. The room was filled with a cold, heavy silence as the last missile launched, its trajectory aimed at the alien ship's weak point. Vega stood frozen, watching as it soared through the air, its journey almost symbolic. A final, desperate attempt to stop an inevitable force. The missile collided with the alien ship's shimmering shield, and for a moment, everything seemed to pause. Then, a deafening crack reverberated through the command center as the impact failed to make even the slightest dent. The shield absorbed the blast as it had absorbed all the others. The alien ship pulsed in response, its energy surging with more intensity than before. "We're out of options, Commander," Lieutenant Hughes said quietly, his voice breaking the stillness. "The shields are back at full strength." "Nothing we do is making a dent." Vega's fists clenched. The words hit her like a physical blow. She had watched as every tactic failed, each strike only making the alien force more powerful. Every attempt to break through, every desperate measure, was swallowed up by the force above them. She had nothing left to give. "Evacuation orders have been sent out," Captain Harris said, his face pale. "The civilians, what's left of them, are being evacuated to the shelters. But with the alien ship still intact, it's only a matter of time before they ... Before it strikes again." Vega's thoughts spiraled. The capital was lost. The fleet was decimated. The alien force had shown no mercy, and no matter how many times humanity had fought back, it only seemed to strengthen the aliens' resolve. She turned to face the tactical screen once more, her mind reeling as the alien ship's silhouette loomed over Earth, taunting them with its quiet dominance. "We can't just sit here," Vega said, her voice suddenly sharp, cutting through the despair. "There has to be something we're missing. A way to fight back. If the aliens are sending coordinates, they want something. We've been reacting this entire time. Maybe it's time we stop playing defense." Hughes looked at her, eyes wide with disbelief. "You're suggesting we what? Attack their capital? The thing is nearly indestructible. We're already beaten." Vega's eyes didn't leave the screen. "No, we don't attack them directly. We go after what they want. This object, the grave marker, it's a symbol. It's a message. We follow the path they've laid out for us, only this time we're taking the fight to them." "Taking the fight to them?" Harris repeated, incredulous. "We don't even know what we're up against anymore." "You saw it. Whatever they have left, they can turn it against us in an instant." "I'm not saying we charge blindly at them," Vega said, her voice steady despite the anger and fear swirling in her chest. "But if they're sending coordinates, then they're leading us somewhere. If we follow their path, maybe we'll find the answers. They've played this game before with other planets. They know how to make us feel like we're losing. We're not out of options yet. We've just been too afraid to take the next step." She turned toward the communications officer. "Give me a direct line to every remaining resistance force. We can't just sit here and wait for it to end. We're going to fight back, but this time we do it on our terms." The officer nodded, quickly dialing in the channels. The room was buzzing with frantic energy as the resistance forces across the globe began to prepare, pooling their last remaining resources. This was humanity's last stand, and it was about to begin. The alien ship, still hovering like an ancient god over the earth, had one final trick up its sleeve. The object, the grave marker, was no longer just a symbol. It was the key. As the resistance forces mobilized and communications were established, Vega's mind raced to formulate a plan, knowing they had only moments before the inevitable would come. Then, another transmission came through. It wasn't from the alien ship, but from one of the remaining satellite stations, one of the few that hadn't been obliterated. It was a signal, weak but decipherable, carrying the cryptic phrase, "We are waiting, time is fleeting." Vega felt her blood run cold. It was almost as if the aliens were taunting them. But then the word struck a chord within her. Time is fleeting. It wasn't just a threat, it was a clue. The aliens weren't just waiting to destroy Earth. They were waiting for something specific. The object, the grave marker, it wasn't just a weapon or a symbol of destruction. It was part of a larger plan. And the coordinates they had been following were leading to the center of that plan. "They've been preparing for this," Vega murmured, her voice barely audible. "They want us to act, to take the bait. But what they don't realize is that we're not following their orders anymore." She turned to face Harris and Hughes. "We're going to follow the coordinates. Not to fight, but to understand. We'll go straight to the heart of their plan and expose their weakness. If we can get to the source of this power, if we can figure out what drives them, we may just have a chance." "We have nothing left to lose," Hughes said, his voice resigned. "If we're going to follow those coordinates, it's all or nothing." Vega nodded. "Exactly. Earth has nothing left to fear. And if they're waiting for us to make the next move, let's give them a fight they never saw coming." The crew rallied together, the final pieces of their plan falling into place. As the fleet moved toward the coordinates one last time, Vega stared out at the alien ship. Knowing that this final confrontation would either save humanity or mark the end of its existence. And just as the first wave of resistance ships left Earth's atmosphere, Vega's thoughts returned to that final message. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. The aliens had underestimated humanity's will to survive. The countdown to humanity's last stand had begun.